Okay, hey, what's up YouTube, and welcome to part 5 of our introduction to Relic Knights. So today we are joined by Richard. How's it going, Richard?
Pretty good. How you doing?
Doing good. Hey, so we're going to cover a couple of topics in this section. One of the topics is going to be how to build a cadre, and then after that we're going to talk a little bit about knights and ciphers, because that's a big part of the cadre, obviously, and then also some key concepts to remember in the game. So, Richard, kind of, I guess the opening question here is, what is the first thing that we want to do, that you think we should do when we are selecting a cadre?
Alright, well, the first thing you want to do is you want to pick your knight, because that's sort of required to have a cadre.
Okay.
Yeah, so first thing you do is you got two types of knights that you can use. You got your Relic Knights. Each faction has one, and then Prismatic and Void. They're like the really big, heavy 80 mil guys, but then they also have the smaller 30 and 40 mil characters called the Questing Knights. They're just as good, a little bit smaller scale. They cost less points, so you can fit more units into your cadre as opposed to a Relic Knight. And every knight, Relic or Questing, comes with a cipher on top of that.
Okay. So we're going to use, for our example here, we're going to use Cersei's Speed Circuit as the first example. So I have a Relic Knight example and a Questing Knight. You can tell what a knight is because that knight's ability card will be a double-sized card. You can recall from the previous section that I actually laminate one card on the back side of the other one. So this is a Relic Knight. You can tell, like Richard said, they can be identified by an 80 mil base and a giant mecha usually, or the Questing Knight, which is usually a much smaller sized model. Okay, so we're going to go with Princess Malia as our knight, and you said that all knights come with another model, right?
Yeah, they come with a cipher.
Okay. So in the case of Princess Malia, she will come with Mr. Tom. And you can tell which cipher the knights come with in that they'll say, under abilities here, it'll say the cipher and then the name of the cipher in parentheses, just so you know. So each cipher is linked to a specific, not linked, but they're the companion of another knight. Linked is actually a separate term. Okay, so in order to build the cadre, we definitely need to hire a knight. So in this case, we're going to hire Princess Malia, and we're going to get Mr. Tom for free. So what is the typical size of a cadre, if we're talking about points here?
Typical cadre is about 50 points in total.
Okay. So we're gonna build a 50-point cadre in this example, and you can tell the points of your model in that it's kind of the number here next to the coin on the top of your character card. So in the case of Princess Malia, 18 points for the knight. So you can see that's a significant part of your 50-point cadre, and the cipher comes in for free. Okay, so we're gonna build a mix of a couple of different things here. So we'll just, for the sake of this example, we're going to start adding some models to our cadre here. I'm going to throw in a Dark Space Candy, and we'll throw in a Rin Farah. That's going to be 9 plus 11, that's 20 points. And these are uniques. Any comments on uniques and how they fit into your cadre?
Uniques are pretty straightforward. Unique just means you can only have one of it. And if you're playing in certain lists, like the Void Relic Knight, which we'll get into, you can only take unique. So usually they're like higher pointed models, pretty strong, usually consisting of a single model. And yeah.
Okay, great. So we're going to take a couple uniques in this example. That's putting us at 38 points. Then we're going to take a couple of squads. So we're going to take a squad of Pit Crew, and we're going to take a squad of Hell's Bells. So first thing that might come to mind is, okay, so this card, or actually the two cards, just laminated back to back, these represent a squad of models, meaning multiple models that have to act together, correct?
Yes.
And
Almost all squads have to move and function at the same time unless they have a special rule like the unit Suspect 7, which allows the squad members to separate and move about as they want.
okay. Now, the one thing that we'll point out here about squads is when you look at their point cost, it's not just a flat number like the way it is on a unique or, say, a knight. It's got the first number here, and then it's got a plus X number in parentheses here. So in the case of the Hell's Bells, it is a 5 plus 1. And so this kind of tells you how you can build and add to your squad. The first number here, the 5, is the base point cost you're going to pay in order to take the minimum sized unit, or the minimum size of this squad. And then for each additional model that you add, in this case, it's going to be plus 1. So you've got to pay at least 5 for a minimum unit of Hell's Bells, and you're going to pay plus 1 to a maximum number. On the other side of the, well, I should say on the ability card, not the other side of the card, but on the ability side of the card, you're going to look under traits here, and traits are it's going to tell you how to buy this squad. So it's going to say, for example, squad, and then one number, and then the second number in parentheses. The first number is the number of models you'll get by paying the minimum cost of the squad. In this case, it's going to be 1. And the number in parentheses is going to be the maximum number of models you can take in a unit. So in this case, it's going to be 3. So in the case of the Hell's Bells, going back to the character card here for a minute, 5 points is going to pay for the minimum size of the squad, which is 1 model. And then you can buy, you're going to pay plus 1 for each additional model to a maximum of 3. So in this case, a unit of Hell's Bells can cost 5 for 1 model, or 7 points for 3 models. So the same would go for the pit crew. Just the opening cost is different. It's 4 plus 1 per additional model. If we look at the squad number, it's going to be 1 and 2 in parentheses. So really you could only take up to 2 pit crew as 1 squad, and that would cost you 5 points. So in our example here, we've got 18, 20 for 38, and then I'm going to take a full unit of pit crew, 5, that's going to put me at 43, and then I'm going to take a full unit of Hell's Bells, which will put me exactly at 50. So this is a typical 50-point crew here for Cersei Speed Circuit, and it's going to consist of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 9 models. Okay, but Richard, like you were saying, this might be the way you build one of the standard factions. But what we're going to do is we're going to convert this cadre into a Radiant cadre. So do you want to take us through kind of the basic concept there?
Alright, so Radiant and Void are like 2 sort of sub-factions in the game. They use 3 different colors as opposed to being associated with 1, and special rules for them vary. Like the Void Relic Knight can only take special custom models that are like one of a kind, so uniques. And then you have Candy, who is the current Relic Knight for the Prismatic, and Prismatic is associated with the Wild card in the deck as opposed to the Void card, which doesn't give you any Esper at all. And what she can do is she can take units that are blue, green, or yellow. So it allows you to take units with any of those colors under her. So it allows you to have a bit more variety and use cross-faction models. Pretty cool in a way.
Okay, cool. So what we're going to do is the first thing, we're going to replace the knight in this cadre. So we're replacing Princess Malia and obviously Mr. Tom as her cipher. We're going to bring in Candy, and then Candy has her own Radiant cipher, Cola. So we're going to do that. All right. So Richard, is this a legal cadre just by swapping out Princess Malia for Candy.
No, it's not, because you still have 2 squads in there, and just like the Void Knight, you have to take unique individual solo models only when playing a prismatic faction as well.
Okay, so what we're going to do then is we're going to convert this to a legal Radiant cadre. So the first thing we have to do after we replace the Knight is we're going to remove both of our squads, and we have to replace those with Radiant uniques. And when we say Radiant, we're talking about 3 different Esper affinities. We're talking about Creation, from Cersei's Speed Circuit. We would also be including Law for Shattered Sword, and also Essence, in this case Doctrine. So for Radiant, we're talking these 3 colors, the green, blue, and yellow. For the Void, the Esper affinity would be red, purple, and orange. Sorry. So it's this would be a legal cadre now with Candy in charge here, and we could do that. Additionally, in addition to Radiant Knights, Radiant and Void Knights, you may also have Radiant and Void uniques. So in this case, we have Candy Heart, who is a Radiant unique. Now, with Radiant uniques, they don't have to be led by a Radiant Knight. They can go in and be hired by any Knight that has one of the Radiant affinities. So, for example, back in our Malia example, Malia can take Candy Heart as part of her cadre. So, in this case, we're going to build up to 50 points here. So, we've got 16 for Candy, and then notice I have 3 candies in this list. How does that work exactly, Richard?
Oh, pretty simple. It's just they still count as individual models. They may have the same name, but they actually are special models. So you have Dark Space Candy, who's like a special LE model. There's several. There's like 1 for each faction. So she counts as her own model. And she does come with her own Squire, which is just another version of Cola. That looks like a little Ryu. And then you have Candy Heart, who's just a regular character. She's not like a knight or anything. She doesn't get a cipher. And then you have the Relic Knight version. So you have like 3 different tiers of Candy: Relic Knight, Questing Knight, and normal character. So they're all eligible to be used within a game.
Yeah, and that's a little unusual for miniatures games. They usually don't allow you to take the same named character multiple times in your build. But in the case of Relic Knights, we accept that some of these candies can be from alternate universes. So it's perfectly fine to take a Candy Knight, Dark Space Candy, and a Candy Heart. However, they are unique within themselves, so you cannot take multiples of the same candy. Okay, so in other words, so for finishing this example, we're at 16, 25, 33, and this would put me at, with Rin Farah, that would put me at 44. So we can, for example, we could easily replace her with, say, we'll just say Ostrican here, who is 1 point more. That would put us at 45. Or we could even go with, say, Cordelia Clean, who is 13 points, and she would put us at 46. But we're going to stay with Ostrican here for this example and be at 44 points. Our goal was a 50-point cadre. So Richard, what can we do with the remaining 6 points?
Remaining 6 points, if you can't take a unit, what you can do is any points you have left over at the cost of 2 points apiece, you can use them to get these little like Esper enhancers that look like little satellite dishes and called boosters. What you do is at the beginning of the game, you lay them down like any other unit, and then so you can take 3 of them in this case, and then what happens is another character can move up to that, and they can use an action to gain Esper from it, and then it disappears. So it becomes like a little boost that you can lay out throughout the map if you don't have enough points left for a unit.
Yeah, if you can take boosts, and boosts do different. They do different things. In the case of an Esper condenser, like you were saying, it's 2 points. If your model starts in contact with that Esper condenser, they're going to gain a held Esper. That's one of the several different kinds of boosts that you can take. I believe there are 8 different ones total that you can take, and they range in point cost from 1 to 4. So if don't be too worried if you are short a bit on points, because you can actually make up to 50 points by filling up with boosts. Alright, so that's the basics of how to build a cadre, but one of the other things that we want to talk about here is some of the special interaction between a knight and its cipher. So really quick, how would you characterize a cipher?
That's pretty easy. The cipher is basically just, they're the squire to your knight. They're just there to follow them around and to help them with whatever it is that the knight needs help doing at the time.
Okay, so the ciphers they're basically just big balls of energy. They are kind of generators of Esper. They're conduits of Esper, so one of the main things with ciphers is, I believe pretty much all ciphers at this point have the abilities Channel Esper and Esper Master. So Channel Esper says that anytime that the cipher is going to activate, it's going to gain a held Esper. And a held Esper is, you would fill out one of these areas, these like 3 bubbles here, to signify that you've gained a held Esper. And what a held Esper is it allows you to gain 2 of any color when you're performing an ability. The 2 have to be of the same color, and you can apply that towards, say, one of your abilities. So held Esper is a very powerful thing in this game. You can also use held Esper for other things like, say, infusing objectives and that sort of thing. But like Richard was saying, the cipher, one of its main jobs is really just to gain Esper, and then it can actually transfer Esper as one of its Esper Master abilities. So it can actually start to power other units on the board, and it doesn't actually have to have line of sight to those units to transfer its Esper to them. That said, there is a special interaction here that happens when a knight activates in line of sight of its cipher. So basically what happens when a knight activates, Richard?
If a knight activates within line of sight of the cipher, that knight will automatically gain 1 held Esper every time it activates in front of, within the line of sight of their cipher. So it's like they get a little bit of energy from them, as long as they maintain that line of sight to them.
And that's a very important thing to remember in Relic Knights. It's a very important concept to keep in mind when you're deploying the cipher, when you're moving it around the board, and also when you're moving the knight around the board. It's a good idea for them to keep line of sight to one another. Another thing that we'll point out about knights, and specifically Relic Knights, is, well, first, before we get to that specific thing, we're going to talk about something that all knights have, which is called a cadre ability. So, really quickly, Richard, what's a cadre ability?
Cadre ability is an ability that the Relic Knight has it, and then what they can do is they can pay the cost of it, and then what it does is they can pick someone in their cadre and usually just make them do something. So, for example, Candy, the Relic Knight, has an ability that she can heal someone in her cadre if she pays the cadre ability cost, and then she can just pick someone within her cadre if she has line of sight, and then heal them for 3 points of damage.
Well, yeah, the cadre ability is actually a ability that the knight bestows to all members of the unit. I'm sorry, of the cadre. So, in the case of Candy here, her cadre ability is an ability, corporate sponsor, and that ability would be gained by every member of her cadre. So, even if it's not on her card, say if Rin Farah would have joined Candy's cadre, she would gain this corporate sponsor ability. Each knight has their own cadre ability, and that's part of what defines the playstyle of the cadre. Is the knight that you take is going to bestow a specific ability on the rest of the cadre, or give that cadre some advantage. In the case of, like, say, Francis Mallory, it might be an advantage in deployment. And then you've got any number of different cadre abilities. So in addition to the cadre ability, which both questing knights and relic knights have, there's also an Esper expression ability that relic knights have. So relic knights are special in that they have this second condition that you check for called Esper expression. And what that is the relic knights will actually gain additional bonuses based on the amount of held Esper that they have. So in the case of Candy here, she has this sugar field ability, which allows her to gain recover equal to the value below, which is based on her held Esper. So for example, if Candy started the turn and she had 3 held Esper on her, she would gain the ability recover 3. In the case of other knights, relic knights, you may have, for example, back to Princess Malia, her Esper expression ability is actually a, let me get the card out here, it's actually the final lap ability, which increases her basic movement depending on her held Esper. So that's going to be it for some basics on knights, ciphers, and cadres. Again, some of the main points: your cadre must be led by a knight. The knights always come with a cipher, and it's a good idea to keep knights and ciphers in line of sight with one another. Any other comments before we close out this section, Richard?
Yeah, quick note. Ciphers are unique compared to other units in that not only can they give Esper, but they can't be hurt by pretty much any ability in the game. You'll notice if you look at their card, they have no health, so don't be confused by that. They can't be hurt to begin with. People can't hurt your cipher. Best they can do is like knock it back, and that's the only abilities that can hurt ciphers are usually from other ciphers, and it has the tagline cipher in the ability, so it can only affect ciphers. But the best they can do is like kind of like knock them back or push them back in the activation order. But you can't actually lose your cipher, except for one unit. But that's a very specific case, and that's the code breaker dude in the mercenaries.
Right.
Cipher actually can die.
Right. So yeah, ciphers are invulnerable. You'll see here, for example, Cola's ability, no photos. It says specifically cipher in it. When you have cipher, the word cipher in an ability, that ability will only affect ciphers, and ciphers can only be affected by abilities that say cipher in them. One other quick note on ciphers is that ciphers cannot interact with objectives, or can they gain VP in any way at all. So, it's interesting to note. Yes, you have an invulnerable unit, but he really can't like run objectives for you or anything like that. So, okay, well, I think that's all really good information. I think this is we're gonna call this section to a close. I want to thank you for joining us here, Richard,
No
and
problem.
we will see you guys on the next one.